Hi, we're here today with Donna Stellhorn. We're going to be discussing Feng Shui. Donna is an astrologer. She's a Feng Shui expert, and she's written 16 books. She writes weekly and monthly predictions for horoscope.com and astrology.com, and she has a growing YouTube channel. For fun, Donna performs improv comedy, and when she wants to be terrified, she does stand-up comedy. Kudos to you. That's a scary business there. She lives in Oceanside, California, with the magical cat, LaRue, although I think they're all really magical. Thank you so much for being here, Donna.
Oh, thank you both for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So let's start with, I always think the easy questions are the hard ones. What is Feng Shui? I think everybody knows it's some sort of Chinese decorating system, but perhaps there's more to it than that.
Yeah, actually, it is how your environment affects your energy, your mood, and your decision making. And this is something that a lot of people don't realize how much of an effect it has. But, marketing people know how much the environment affects you. And so this is something that's been used on us a lot, and Feng Shui has been around for ages and ages, and it gives us the power to alter our environment so that we can set ourselves up for success.
What's it based on? What are the core principles behind it that go into the decision making? A few of them.
Well, there's as she stumbles along here. So the core principles are to set up your environment to support whatever your goals are. And so the concept is, it's hard to lose weight if you live in a donut shop. So it's better to set things up that are in line with your goals. But oftentimes we just come home, we're so tired from, fighting the battles out in the world that we flop down on the sofa and say, oh, I can't do any more. But during the day when we were out and about, we might have said, I'm going to go home and write my screenplay or, rebuild furniture or something. But we walk in and, and this happens to me when I walk into a lot of homes and all I see is this gigantic TV. And so I have to say, I think watching TV is your goal, because that's going to be the easiest thing, to just flop down and watch the TV.
So how could someone rearrange their environment so that they could be productive in other ways, like with a new job, a new business, rather than the TV, as you said, being, like this kind of temple of worship?
Yes.
People. How could they, when they walk through their door, what could they do? Like little tips to.
Yeah, if you were walking in a front door, not everybody does, but if you walk in a front door, you might have, a painting on the wall that is of the beach house that you want to get someday. One of the things that I do is in my office, when I leave my desk, what is queued up on my computer is what I need to write next or what I need to work on. So when I sit down, I can instantly start working on it. And there also, we could disguise the TV in different ways. I mean, these days, the TV could be a piece of art where instead of its TV, it looks like a landscape scene. And then program it so it's doing things that remind you of what you really want to do.
Brilliant idea.
So optimally, would you have a different room in the house for different functions? I mean, a lot of people have, studio apartments, and it's the office, it's the kitchen, it's the bedroom. That sounds like it would be a difficult situation. But but is it ideal to compartmentalize?
It's not necessarily ideal. Sometimes people set up an exercise room, but it's in such a lonely place in the house, they never go there. And other times people need to be in a little cave. And they'll set their desk up on the dining room table and never sit there. So it's actually more about getting to know you and the house itself. So, for me, my office is always in the biggest, most well-lit room. I don't care what it's named. That's where I want to be, because the office is so important to me. But if family was the most important, well, then yes, then my office would be somewhere else.
So here's a question that I often have. I live in a house, but I live in a house with other folks. And so if the southwest corner is good for something and the northeast corner is good for something else, is that relevant to my house as a whole, or is it relevant to my space within it?
Okay, so here's where the big can of worms gets opened up. So in actuality, right now, there's about 8 different systems of Feng Shui being taught in the United States. These came from 2 basic systems that emerged in China. One is called Form School. That's the one that I practice. And Form School was developed in the more mountainous regions. And so it took into consideration the topography, you know, that there's a river here and there's a mountain there. And you couldn't have your house just facing a mountain, no matter what compass direction that was. But China is a very big place, so there was also flat regions of China where a compass system emerged. And this was an actual compass. The Chinese invented the compass, and it measures the quality and quantity of qi energy that was in a space. And so from this, all these 2 systems, all these other systems emerged. So the one that you're talking about, where there's a wealth area and a relationship area, actually came from a single ring in this 36 ring compass that people said, okay, we're just going to be thinking about this one spot. So, and then to complicate matters further, if you're building a house and you're in this flat area, then we can orient your house, you know, like there's no roads, there's no rivers, there's no, we can orient it wherever it's luckiest, wherever it's going to be pulling the most energy. So, but once the house is built, now the compass directions aren't so important because all the energy is going to come through that front door. And so then we orient it not for north, south, east, west, but your far left corner is going to be your money corner. Your far right corner is going to be your relationship corner, and so on. So I hope that wasn't all too confusing.
No, it wasn't confusing. Feng Shui is like everything else. It's more complicated than we'd like.
It's adapted with life through the ages. Obviously.
Well, it really has. And that's another important point. Thank you, Natalie, because it is growing and changing. And so some of the rules in ancient Feng Shui, we liberally break now. And one of those would be you'd never have more windows than doors. Otherwise, your children would be rebellious. And so of course, in the United States, we have tons more windows than doors, and we have rebellious children. And this is okay with us because we do want them to grow up and do something more than we did. But it's, you know, it was different then and different back then. You know, children were needed. If children left, then everybody died. So you didn't want rebellious kids.
Ah, yeah, that makes so much sense. Wow, that's so interesting. Yeah.
What are some of the not great things in Feng Shui? I lived in a house for a long time that when you walked in the front door, there was a little vestibule, like 5 foot long by 4 foot wide, and then you hit the coat closet, and then you had to turn left to get into the main part of the house. And I used to say bad Feng Shui, you know, but that was just a term. But that wasn't it?
Oh yes, you know, and then when there is bad Feng Shui, most of us really feel it. You know, it is that you open a door and you walk into a wall. Or I just did a house with somebody, it's actually kind of a condo, and she has these huge expansive windows that look exactly into a brick wall that's just 2 feet away.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
When you're in a hotel room, or you get a bad room and you've got that horrible view of the wall, and that's not nice. No.
No, it's not. And I'm sure, you recognize when a price is really cheap on a house, there's probably some serious bad feng shui in there. And that can be, that it backs up to something industrial or something like that. All of that is considered bad feng shui. Now, there's also what I call reverse feng shui, and that's the type of thing that maybe the restaurant does with you, that if they put you in the booth, you stay a long time. If they put you at a table where there's people walking behind you, you will eat quickly and pay your money and leave. And that's more beneficial to the restaurant. And so that's the reverse feng shui.
Yeah. So
Ah.
people either know this consciously, or they just know it instinctively, or through.
Some people really know it, they can pinpoint it, and other people just
Yes.
say, a example, like in the grocery store, that all of the things that they want us to buy are at eye level, because we're very apt to just reach and get it. And so, the same thing happens when we're at home. We put all the delicious food very visible in the fridge, and then the fruits and vegetables, which we should be eating, are hidden in this drawer at the bottom. And if you just reverse that, if you put the fruits and vegetables in a bowl right where you can see it, you will eat more fruits and vegetables. So but you may not say, oh, you'll think, oh, this isn't going to work, but it does.
It actually does, yeah.
Are we talking about psychological principles, or is there a little bit of a metaphysical thing, a little energetic sort of stuff? Because a lot, like, it seems like very psychological. Put the more expensive stuff in the middle of the, with the brand name stuff, and then put the sale items down below so people won't see it. But then again, it does that they wouldn't really be thinking if you're facing north or something like that. See what I'm saying?
Correct. Yes, there is a very scientific side of feng shui that makes logical sense, which you can discuss at the board meeting or with your father or something like that. And then there is the more spiritual side of it, where you are working with the energies, where you're talking with the house, or you are going to a particular area and putting representations for what you want. And this is where you're incorporating, a more spiritual idea. And it's just as effective. It's just harder to explain to some people.
So I guess you have some clients, some people you help who are, more scientific. So that's where you go with it, and others who kind of sense things. I know a lot of people who, I sense it myself, where I do pick up on vibes in places, and because I read that you wrote a book all about smudging, didn't you? Using sage as well, to clear the.
Yes, burning sage is a Native American inspired method of clearing a space. And so it seems very spiritual and symbolic, and it is, but they've also done studies to show that the burning of this particular herb actually is kind of like an antibiotic for pathogens in the air. So it actually does clear the air.
Yeah.
So you get both. And I think that a lot of these things are that, yes, a lucky money cat is a little, it feels a little odd. Why is a little cat who's waving at me is the going to bring money? But the idea that you say, okay, I'm going to really focus on this, and I'm going to go get this little cat. I'm going to put him in the right place. And every time I walk by, I'm going to give him a little coin. Now you have this in your mind. And so therefore you are then seeing these money opportunities. And then you say, it's the cat. The cat is working.
So it's a bit like a vision board or something, isn't it? It's like you've got that focus.
Yes.
Which and that will work really great for certain people, won't it, to have that focus.
Yeah, well, it works for so many people that from the psychological standpoint, that there was a writer, and now his name's going to escape me, but he did some books on how different things that, excuse me, different things that the grocery store did affected your shopping habits. And so he wrote these very scholarly articles, wrote books on it. And yet when he was shopping, his wife would continually point out, you're falling for this. You know, it says, you know, buy 10 and you get the special price, and you're buying 10 and we need one, you know. And so we are affected by this, even if we say, I don't pay attention to my environment, I ignore it completely.
Cool.
You know,
I mean, subconsciously, that's the powerful force, isn't it? That we're not really.
It is such a powerful force, and we're like the fish in the water, you know, and the fish is saying, what water? And so think about the energy of the casino. You know, it's, you know, the carpet has this design to make us go different directions. It has all this pattern to it. There's flashing lights. There's these narrow aisles. There's not a clock in sight. In fact, we can't even see if it's, you know, sunlight outside or dark outside. And, you know, yes, we walk through there and maybe we don't put a quarter in the machine, but, oh, you know, there's the temptation because we can hear, oh, there's bells. Somebody's won something. I could win something. So then we come to our homes and, you know, we have extra clutter, or as I said, the giant TV, or, you know, I had a person call me and said that she felt her love life was just dead. And I walked into her bedroom and there was one of those giant cow skulls, you know, from New Mexico over her bed.
Oh,
said,
no.
I found the problem, you know, because every time she walked in there.
So it's literally, that's what she.
Yeah, literally, she had a dead thing hanging over her bed. And we do this, and it becomes part of the
found someone after. I bet her love life picked up after that.
Yeah, well, you know, not to mention that she had this heavy thing hanging over her bed. It was just, you know, like at any moment this could fall and these sharp points could just impale me. It just reminds us that we are co-creating with the universe and we have to pay attention.
Attention to what, and, you know, sometimes just by moving things, you know, knowing what's got stuck. You know, I find it sometimes I have it with books that I haven't picked up for a while. I just move them around and it feels better, or things I'm not paying attention to because they're just stuck in the wrong place. And so do you is this what you do, kind of change things around to sort of re-energize spots?
Well, you really can. It's remarkable. I mean, everybody who ever moves the furniture around in their living room will tell you, gosh, in the first week, oh, it's amazing. It's the best it's ever felt. And it's more because of the movement of it, not that they've hit the right place. And so I do caution people that, you know, Feng Shui has a lot of rules. And with 8 different systems, sometimes the rules can conflict and it can get super confusing. And it's more about moving something. And recognizing whether the thing that's there is beneficial. You know, it's, you know, again, back to the love, you know, having the client who says, I really want somebody in my life. And yet, you know, all the pictures in her bedroom, or that one single woman standing on the hilltop with her hat in her hand, you know, the wind blowing in her hair. And she's so lonely. And so that just emphasizes
I have to take that out of my room then. I've got a picture of just me actually.
Oh, yeah.
Drawing.
Yeah. So, you know, or the woman who said, you know, I need a new job and I want to move and all of this. And she had this picture of this rope bridge and that fog had obscured the other side. So we had this dangerous path we had to take with nothing we could see in the future. And we do this to ourselves. You know, we will put clothing on top of our exercise equipment when we say we want to exercise, or we stack our desk with papers when we say that we just want to focus and get our stuff done.
So why do you think as humans, we do things like this? Do you think we're just making it harder for ourselves, or do you think it's just being just unconscious?
No, I think we're making it more comfortable for ourselves. I think that
because to make changes, you know, sometimes the subconscious doesn't like change.
Oh, yeah, I think our subconscious is terrified of change. And sometimes we just have to say to ourselves over and over, I love change, so that our brain can go, oh, okay, we're okay with change now, are we? Yeah. So, because change is really scary. You know, it's funny. I was reading Seneca this morning. I'm into a little stoicism. And it was that same quote you hear all the time of, you know, doing the same thing and expecting different results
is a sign of a very foolish person.
Yes, yes. And so he was saying it way back when, I don't know when Seneca lived, but that comes back to the idea of just change something, just move something. Yeah. You know, just even if you can't get rid of all the clutter, let's move it to some other place, you know. And sometimes we procrastinate because we want to do it so perfectly. We want to do it by the Feng Shui rules, or we want the perfect organizing system, you know, when actually just, you know, throwing everything in a box and letting it be organized archaeologically with the oldest on the bottom would be okay right now, because it creates a change.
Yeah. About clutter, I think the problem with clutter is that it's yesterday's important stuff that was 95% completed, you know, and so you leave it around because you're not quite done with it, and then but you don't get back to it, and then something else comes on top of it, you know, and it's hard to get rid of it sometimes because it's the sense like, well, I have something to finish with this. And
well, yes, I mean, something to finish, you know, or there's sunk costs into it. You know, I bought this and maybe I don't wear it or I don't use it, but I already paid for it. And so it reminds me that I made a mistake, you know, and the problem is it reminds me every time I see it, I made a mistake. I made an error. So that's some of it. Yes, the unfinished, where maybe we're waiting on someone else, or maybe we just need to take the time and ask ourselves, well, what is the thing that I'm afraid of for finishing this? You know, well, what's really holding me back? Because this could be something where we struggle to finish anything in our lives. You know, because then maybe, oh, and then it's so sad that it's done, or maybe it's now it's done and out in the world, and what if it's imperfect?
Yeah, and kind of being in that state all the time means that you've just accumulated so much, haven't you? And it can block you from going through the new door opening.
So much so that, you know, and it's such an epidemic that is kind of this unseen epidemic, you know, and by the number of books I have, you can see, you know, I'm part of this.
I mean, it's like a library. It's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. But it's
quite a few of them are obviously the ones that you've written.
Thank you. So the fact that we can't get our cars in our garages, or that we open a cupboard and we have to move 6 things to grab the one thing. I'm
feeling a little uncomfortable now.
I don't know if you guys have heard of the wardrobe experiment, which is fun. If you use a hanging wardrobe, is that you turn all the hangers backwards, and then as you wear something, put it in normally. And at the end of 2 months, you'll find such a small percentage of things you have worn. And then you're able to maybe let go of some of the other things.
Yeah, that's a good.
So just before we finish, your new book, which is I got to get this one on house numbers and Feng Shui. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it's not quite out yet, but it's with the publisher. And this is the idea that the house number is actually describing the energy of the house. It's basically the name of the house. And so this is some part Feng Shui, part numerology. And so if your house, say, adds up to the number 5, well, then it's going to be more of a party house. And when you move in there, you're going to have people over and you're not going to want to do so many things. And except maybe renovate the house. You'll want to do a lot of that. Or perhaps you move into a 7 house and then you want to be a little bit more invisible. You want to just have your own opinions and, sit around and watch TV a little bit more and yell at the TV when they do something political. In fact, you'll even find that certain house numbers or numbers that add up to certain numbers will sell for less. That number 7, for example, you'll find it is a very common house for rental, or the number 4. 4 is about hard work and stability and losses, letting go of something. So if you live in a 4 house and you have, a little business in the house and you have an inventory that gets depleted and then has to be restocked, fabulous. You're doing great because that's in harmony. But if you're just trying to live in that house, then every time you come home, you think, oh, there's so much cleaning and work I have to do. And, oh, I just broke my favorite vase, or, my pan is ruined, or there's some sort of thing leaving you all the time. And so this is what I'm writing about, is how to harmonize your energy with the house, but also how to mitigate that through Feng Shui. By placing things to use up some of that energy.
All right, so that makes me want. I think you sort of answered it, but let me get a little bit more of a. Let's say things are. Let's say the house was really poorly designed in some way. None of the 8 schools of Feng Shui would have anything to do with this design. There are things that you can do that will mitigate or improve the situation a bit.
Oh, yes. And that's the wonderful thing about Feng Shui. It offers remedies. And some of these are very practical remedies, very logical, and some of them are more spiritual, and they work, which is really great. And so if your house is missing the wealth corner, there are ways to shore that up, and so that money isn't so difficult anymore. If there, I have to say, in all of my clients and all that, I've only said to a couple of people, I really think you should move. And those houses had already given them enough bad luck, and it was just going to be such a climb to change things. But in general, yeah, even if the house has a really poor design, like I was in a kitchen in a 100-year-old house, and my head I was too tall for the kitchen. Okay. And so of course the husband was kind of bent over and all of that. So, architecturally I said, let's move the kitchen, and so that became a little sitting room, and then they moved the appliances and all that, and they got to stay in that house. So
great. So there's so much you can do to optimize your experience in a house and the relationship you have with your home, and you help people to find the right property as well, don't you? Based on their neurology. You use astrology with this as well, don't you? Western and
Chinese astrology.
Chinese as well, don't you?
Yeah. Yes. And Chinese astrology is actually just as complex as our Western astrology. It's not just the placemat at the Chinese restaurant. So, and if I want to give your viewers one big tip, kind of a universal tip, it would be to make sure that the front entrance, the main door, is clear. This is often the place that we pile up packages that have to go back out, or our shoes or something like that. But all new energy, all opportunities come through the front door. They don't come through a side door. They don't come through the back door. Like if something you don't expect comes through the back door, you're going to call the police. You're not going to be, yay. So it's the front door that you want to clear out the clutter around. And then new opportunities will come in, and then the rest you can do as you have time.
I gotta go do some cleaning.
Yeah, I know. You've really inspired me to go in and make a few changes. And so what were you saying again about love life and the bedrooms, to have two To have
Oh,
two
yes.
of everything rather than one if you're single.
Yes, have pairs of things.
Pairs of
So
things.
2 nightstands, an even number of pillows. And you might even want to go so far as to add the color red or yellow. Yellow would be for a friendship that grows into love, and red for passion. Pink tends to attract a partner who's a little on the passive side. And, you know, once the person's in your life, do all the pink you want. But, you know, if you're attracting love, you want to have a more energetic color.
Something strong, fiery, like
Yes.
very Martian.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
So
a helpful tip for any viewers that are.
yeah. And if you want more money, you know, one of the easiest things, sorry, if you want more money, one of the easiest things you can do is to have a bowl of coins by your front door. So that when you look, you go, oh yeah, money. I have to think about money. I'm going to go, you know, work on my investments or work on my little business or things like that. Like attracts like. And so having that bowl of coins right there just reminds you, oh yeah, money, it's important.
That's a really good tip. But inside the house, not outside.
Yes, inside on the table by the front door. Most people have a table there, you know, a little landing pad. And what is on that landing pad is important. If it's just your bills, well, then that's your thought going in. Oh, I have bills. It would be better to have a symbol of prosperity.
Wow.
Right.
You know, it makes so much sense. You'd think that everybody would have thought of any of this beforehand, right? You know, but like, oh, geez, you know, that's, you know, take the mail in and just pile it up there, and you know, it's all kinds of things. You know, it's, you know, even stuff that you're just not going to pay attention to, like junk mail is there. You know, well, you have junk when you first walk in the front door.
It is all down to being aware and mindful of our environment, and recognize that it does have an influence over us. And we can go in fully aware that something's going to have an influence on us, and it still influences us. And so that's why we need to set up our personal space, especially for our success.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Donna. This has been really helpful. It's really interesting, but really helpful. And I'm sure lots of folks are going to be cleaning their house and looking for some books. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. It's been so lovely. It's been so interesting.
Thank you both so much. I really appreciate it.
Really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye for now. Bye-bye.